الحمد لله رب العالمين نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم أخرجه ابن ماجه وصححه شيخنا الألباني في صحيح ابن ماجه. We begin after praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending the peace and blessing upon the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam with the khutbah that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to begin his talks with, and a hadith which Imam Ibn Majah has recorded. Shaykhuna al-Albani graded it to be sahih. Even those ai who criticized some of the asanid said because of shawahid, because of the supporting narrations, it is authentic, especially in its meaning. So what did the Prophet ﷺ tell us in this hadith? That seeking knowledge, talab ilm, is a farida. It is an individual obligation ala kulli Muslim, upon every Muslim. Some of the people said ala kulli Muslim wal Muslima. The Muslima word is not established in hadith. But if you say ala kulli Muslim, the Muslimah is included in that. Yani male and female will be included in this tense. Tayyib. So what does that mean? Seeking knowledge is obligatory upon every Muslim. Tayyib. Today we want to cover some aspects of that. And before I dive into that, I want to thank the 5-2 Initiative for organizing this online conference. Brother Abdul Kareem and Brother Hanif and others and Brother Dursa and others. May Allah reward them. And we have this online going live. And if anybody has questions online, they can post as well. We'll let the brothers monitor the online questions. If anybody has questions here, inshallah we'll take them in the end as well. Tayyib. So when we say seeking ilm is an obligation upon every Muslim, this makes it fardul ayn. Tayyib. We know the brothers who studied usul al-fiqh, and I'm going to make things very simple today. This is a practical application dars, so I'm not going to complicate this, but I want to explain this. In the ummah, there are some things that are fardul kifaya. Yani if some of the ummah are doing it, the rest of us don't have to do it. Can you guys give me an example? Janaza. If somebody, da'wah. Da'wah sometimes can be fardul ayn when it's not being done, now like nowadays. But in essence, it's fardul kifaya. If some of the ummah are active in doing it, not every single one of us has to go. If somebody's, if a good amount of people are praying janazah on a Muslim, not everybody in San Diego has to go to every janazah around the world, right? It would become very difficult if every janazah had to be attended by every single Muslim. Tayyib. For example, studying balagha. Balagha, the eloquence of speech of the Arabic language, beautiful subject, I love it. But is it that every Muslim has to know balagha? No. There has to be from the ummah, those ulama, those people who understand it, they can explain it. But not every Muslim needs to study it. What about usul al-tafsir or usul al-fiqh or mustalah al-hadith? These are all beautiful ulum. But they're not fardul ayn upon every Muslim. Not every Muslim has to know all of them. Not every Muslim has to be a hafiz of the Quran. We have to know enough Quran to read our salah, to be able to live our life, yes. But not everybody is going to be hafiz, even though being a hafiz is something with great reward and a great thing. But this hadith tells us that seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim. So what knowledge is obligatory that every single Muslim, man, woman, layman, poor, rich, ignorant, scholar, everybody has to know. In that, the ulama of Islam have explained many aspects of it. I'm going to simplify. First and foremost, aqeedah. The basics. You don't have to know what was the difference between batiniya and karamiyya, which is good to know, but it's not an obligation. But to know the basics of your aqeedah, to know who is Allah, to know what is our belief, you have to know the basics of it. And to know the fiqh of your daily life. Tayyib? So, as a Muslim, is salah fard on every Muslim? Yes. Basically, if you are baligh and if you are sane, you're aqil, you're Muslim, your salah is fard on you. Tayyib? So then the fiqh of how to make that salah correctly is fard on you. Even if you're an illiterate farmer, you still have to know the fiqh of how to make salah. You don't have to know usul al-fiqh, you don't have to know the usul of madhahib, you don't need to know the khilaf bain al-zahiriyya wal-malikiyya and these things. No, but you have to know how to make your salah according to the sunnah. Not just, I saw my grandfather doing it. Tayyib? What about fasting in Ramadan? Fard. Then the fiqh of fasting is fardan. What about hajj? If you have the ability, fard. The fiqh of hajj is fard on you. What about zakat? If you have the mal, then the fiqh of zakat, zakatul fitr, zakatul mal, is fard. And knowing the fiqh of it is fard. Tayyib? So that means everybody here and everybody inshallah listening or watching or upstairs or other places should know the importance of knowing the daily fiqh. Tayyib. Because it is fardul ayn, an individual obligation upon every one of us. So now we run into the problem. We got the ruling, right? Everybody clear on this? Clear? No khilaf? Now we run into a problem, a practical problem. I hear a lot of durus and I read a lot of from articles about very fancy things, like this is the qiyas baina this and that. Forget, this is not the dars for that. I want to talk about something very practical. I want to be real with you, right? As Muslims living in the West, right? Those living in Muslim countries where ulama in every masjid have durus and books are being taught, they go to their masjid and if they find a good alim upon the kitab sunnah and they take from, their problem is solved. But we have a problem in the West, because in the West we are a hodgepodge of a community. Some are from Africa, some are from Asia, some are from Europe, some are natives from this country, some are Latin, some are Caucasian, whatever. So we have mixed. And there are many different approaches to fiqh that have clashed, right? So practically, how can we learn and apply fiqh living in the West? Tayyib. We have a few different misconceptions I want to clarify first. One of them that we hear all the time, growing up here in San Diego in the West, I used to always hear, is there are 4 madhahib and they're all right in everything, right? And whichever one you follow, you can only follow that, and you cannot take from another, and you cannot pray behind another, and this is it. We used to hear it all the time, right? You would go somewhere and somebody would be making masha and jawraba and it'd be like, you can't make salah behind him. Why? He's Shafi'i, we're Hanafi. Okay. And this problem at different times in the ummah has caused wars in the ummah. This, if you study tarikh, even if you look at what happened to Imam al-Shafi'i when he went to Misr and those tullab of Maliki fiqh and how they physically attacked him and things. I'm not going to get into details here. But this ta'assub, this partisan mindset of the madhahib has caused bloodshed in this ummah. And it caused a time where in the haram, in Mecca, there would be 4 different salawat. If you don't believe me, Google some of the old maps of the haram and you will see maqam al-Hanafiyya, maqam al-Shawafiyya, maqam al-Malikiyya, maqam al-Hanbaliyya. You would have 4 different salawat in the haram. And Muslims wouldn't pray behind each other in Mecca, in Masjid al-Haram. Because they would say, we are Shafi'i and we don't pray behind Hanafi, and Hanafi don't pray behind this and this and this. And this ta'assubi mindset has caused much harm in this ummah. So we want to practically do away with that. Look, it doesn't matter if you are Shafi'i or Maliki or Hanbali or Zahiri or this or that. First thing, understand that a madhab is only a path. Madhab, literally, it's a path, right? What is the goal? What is your goal? Your goal is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every madhab, every imam, may Allah bless them all, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad, Imam al-Awza'i, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, al-Nakha'i, and others, al-Shawkani and others who had their own madhahib. Some of them exist, some of them don't, but all of them were good, and all of them had one goal, which is to get to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to practice the deen according to sunnah. So never lose the goal in the path. You understand? The goal is not to be Hanafi or Shafi'i or Maliki or Hanbali or Zahiri or this or that. The goal is to follow the sunnah. The path to get there may go through the usul of one of these madahib, but the goal has to be reached. If you get stuck in the madhab, as big parts of this ummah have, where you just want to defend the madhab, and you just want to prove the madhab, and that's all you care about, it is as if somebody gets on a freeway. Let's say, I'll give you an example local to us. You know the 805 freeway? Like you get on the 805, where do you want to go? You want to go, let's say you want to go to Masjid Abu Bakr. What's your exit? Balboa. So you go on the 805, and you get to Balboa, and instead of exiting to go to the masjid, you just turn back around, you get back on the freeway. And you just go in a loop. You just keep going in a loop. You tell them, why are you getting in a loop? Salah time is going to be over, you're going to miss it. Brother, it's a really nice freeway. I love this freeway. How dare you disrespect this freeway? 805 is the best. You know how many lanes we have? You know that. Akhi Tayyib, it's a beautiful freeway. But what happened to the goal? The same thing you find with madahib. Some of the Ahnaf, they will defend the madhab even if they have to fabricate a hadith. And this has happened in history. If you don't believe me, go look it up. I studied. Get the book Usul al-Shashi. I studied. I took my kids to a country, won't name it. They were memorizing Quran. And while they used to memorize, I used to stay in the madrasa. They had a dars on Usul al-Shashi. I used to sit in it. In the beginning of the Muqaddamah, one of the shuruh, it says, وَالصَّلَاةُ عَلَى النَّبِي وَأَصْحَابِهِ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى أَبِي حَنِيفَةَ وَأَحْبَابِهِ. Even in the durood, in the Salat ala Nabi, they included Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayh. Even Abu Hanifa was a great scholar. He didn't call towards this ta'assub, but we've developed it. So even when a clear hadith is put forward to defend the madhab, they'll take a weaker hadith. Why? Because it's just about the madhab. Everything is defend the madhab. So it's like the person who just stays on the freeway. They're going back and back forward, but they lost the goal, which was the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even the Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayh, as is mentioned in numerous books, himself, he said, أصح الحديث فهو مذهبي. The strongest hadith, that is my madhab. And in many opinions he changed. Same with the Malikiyah, same with the Shawafi', same with the Hanabila, same with the Zahiriyah. We find some who they develop that ta'assub and they get stuck in this. And then, what do they tell us? All four are correct. What does that mean? All four are correct. All four, and other than four, it's not just four, many madhahib. The four that are well known today had the correct intention. And each imam had the correct intention. And those a'imma and ulama that followed them also had the correct intention. That is true. But it doesn't mean they're all four correct in everything. I know this is somewhat politically incorrect, but don't really care. This is reality. Either touching your private part breaks your wudu or it doesn't. It can't be both. And everybody always gives the example of the Sahaba that were told you need to pray Asr in a place, and they were going, and the time Asr was getting out, some of them prayed, some of them waited, and Rasulullah said both were correct. That's true. But it doesn't mean they were both correct. Their ijtihad was correct, they're rewarded for the ijtihad. So, if an imam makes ijtihad and he's wrong, from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he will still get a reward. The Prophet told us that if somebody who's qualified makes ijtihad, if he's right, he gets two rewards, one for being right and one for his ijtihad. If he's wrong, he still gets one reward for his ijtihad, as long as he tried his best. But that doesn't mean he's right. Istidlalan from the hadith, he was wrong, but he tried his best. So somebody goes out and they want to make salah and they don't know where the qibla is. Tayyib? Fiqh issue. It happens to us. You're out, you're on the 8, you're going to Yuma, Arizona, and your car breaks down, it's dark, you don't know which way the direction is, you're walking around, you make ijtihad on where the qibla is, and you make your salah. And you get in your car, you fix it, you leave, light comes, you realize your qibla was wrong. Okay? Your salah is fine. At the time you made ijtihad, you did your best, right? You're fine. But now the light comes and you know where the correct qibla is, but you're like, I'm going to make the wrong way anyway. No, now you're wrong. Right? So this is the thing. If an imam made ijtihad, he did his best upon the evidence that was in front of him, and he made a mistake, he will get a reward. But if you know the correct evidence that may not have been apparent to that imam, and you still follow that imam's opinion over the dalil, now you're sinning. That's not okay. So that means all of the madhahib are not correct in everything. And some of the things, now imagine, an imam, whether it's Abu Hanifa or Shafi or Malik or Ahmad or Dawood al-Dahiri or Shawkani or Awza'i or any of them, may Allah reward them all. They were the greatest ulama of this ummah. But it's a very big burden for you to place on any one man who's not a Nabi of Allah, right? They're not Anbiya, right? You sure? Okay. They're not Anbiya. They're not Sahaba, right? They're not Malaika. So for one man to say he was correct in everything, in every single ruling ever, come on, right? That's a pretty difficult thing to put on somebody. That's a lot of pressure, right? And Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam got wahi. Okay? He didn't speak of his own desire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran to him and guided him to present to us his sunnah. The sunnah is from wahi. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he taught us the adhan, when he taught us salah, he didn't just do it from his own desires, right? So the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everything he brought is huda, is guidance. Now, amongst the Sahaba who were the best of this ummah after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were khilaf, and some of them were wrong in the khilaf, and they would make ruju'. Sometimes they would make a fatwa, and another Sahabi would remind them of a hadith, and they would make ruju'. That means that after Nabina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is nobody in this ummah that's 100% right about everything. Right? Abu Bakr radiyan, he made ta'bir al-ru'ya. He made an explanation of a dream. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, you are right in some of it, you are wrong in some of it. And that's Abu Bakr, he's the best of this ummah. None of these imams can compare to Abu Bakr radiyan, with all due respect to those ai''imah. So that means when you come to these ai''imah in fiqh, don't make them ma'asumeen. But at the same time, don't disrespect them. These are the greatest of the ulama of this ummah from the fuqaha. Don't be like, well, if Ahmad said it, he's a man and I'm a man. Well, Imam Ahmad memorized 1,000,000 hadith. How many did you memorize, akhi? Don't take this light. And never, ever, ever try to look down upon any of them, because no doubt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised their status and made them from the ummah, those that were leaders, right? But at the same time, don't go to an extreme, don't go to ghulu in it as well. Tayyib. So now I will give you a brief summary of the madhahib and their development. Right? Very brief. And again, this is not meant to be a scholarly, in-depth dars. This is supposed to be a practical application of fiqh. Tayyib, in this ummah, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alive, and you had a question, right? Whether this is halal or haram, whether it is 2 or 4 rak'at, whether this is this way or that way, what would you do? You go to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was alive. No doubt, you would go to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would give you the answer, and that's it. Khalas. What a blessed time. Ya laythani kuntu minhum. Oh, I wish how we were from them, that we could see our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and sit in his halaqah and learn from him. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the Sahaba, and this is how it was. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam left this dunya, when he died from hayat al-dunya, at that time you had khulafa. Who was the first? You sure? Good. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. And then Umar. Then Uthman. Then Ali. And so on. And those khulafa were from the most knowledgeable of this ummah as well. So when you had a khilaf, what could you do? You could go to the Khalifa and you could ask him. Or you could go to the Sahaba that were in your city, like Ibn Mas'ud or Ibn Abbas or Abdullah ibn Umar or Mu'ad ibn Jabal or any Sahabi, and you could go to them and you could ask them and they can give you the fatwa. And this is easy. Khalas. They were there when Wahi was revealed. They were there when the Quran was revealed. They asked the Prophet ﷺ. They learned that ilm from the Prophet ﷺ. You could ask them. So there was no need for madahib or usulul fiqh or usulul hadith and things. If you didn't know, for example, and I'll tell you the development, because somebody will say, oh, did they have mustalah al-hadith then? Which madhab were they on? Right. In the time of Umar radiyallahu anhu, Abu Musa al-Ashari, he came to the door of Umar radiyallahu anhu. He knocked on the door. Umar radiyallahu anhu was a Khalifa. He was busy with some things. Abu Musa al-Ashari knocked again. Umar radiyallahu anhu didn't. He knocked a third time. From the sunnah, if you knock 3 times and the person doesn't answer, you just leave. So Abu Musa al-Ashari was going. Umar radiyallahu anhu, he said, who was this? They said, Abu Musa al-Ashari. He said, call him. He told him, why did you leave? I was busy, you would have waited for me. He said, I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say that if you knock 3 times, then the person doesn't answer, just go. Umar radiyallahu anhu said, bring your witnesses. And he's heard it himself, right? He said, bring your witnesses. Now Umar, he's strict. He's strict. So Abu Musa al-Ashari, his face, the color of his face changed. He became pale. He went to a group of the Ansar. He said, did you hear this from the Prophet? They said, of course. He said, come with me to Umar. I'm afraid he's going to punish me. So they went to Umar. They said, yeah, Umar, we heard this from the Rasul as well. Why would you doubt him? He said, Wallahi, I didn't doubt Abu Musa al-Ashari. I know him to be truthful. But I wanted to set a precedence that people don't start saying whatever they want and attributing it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Today somebody gets up and the member mentions the mawdu' hadith, you tell them, akhi, it's mawdu', they're like, who the hell are you? Right? It's very dangerous. So the Sahaba, they started the checking of hadith. But they were direct links. So there was no need for ilm al-rijal. All the Sahaba were thiqa. They were all reliable. But now, after the Sahaba started to pass away from this dunya, now you have tabi'un. You have the next generation. And now you have a problem. That if you're in a city like Kufa or Basra or Medina or Mecca or in the land of Sham or the land of Misr or in Yemen or these areas, and the area that was called Bahrain at the time, which was a lot bigger than the Bahrain, the little island today, and all of this Emirat and Kuwait and all this area, and you had a question that the local ulama may not know, what should they do? They go to the Quran, of course, but what if they don't find it or they don't understand from it? Or they go to the ahadith that they may know, what if they don't find it? Now what do? They can't just go to the Prophet ﷺ, they can't just go to a Sahabi. So here now, the need for madahib began. So in the ummah at that time, 2 major schools, and again, they're not the only schools, this is a summary, developed. Okay? Even, again, I'm leaving Awza'i and the people of Sham and things like this out of it right now. There were the people in Medina. The Imam of them, Az-Zuhri, and then Imam Malik, Ibn Anas, and others, may Allah bless them, they came up with a solution. They said, if we find a hadith, and again I'm overly simplifying, right? If we find a hadith, maybe there's 2 hadith that have a contradiction, or we don't find something clear, then what should we do? We always go to the Quran. Every alim in the history of Islam agrees that first and foremost we go to the Quran. And then every alim in history agrees that we definitely go to the Sunnah, a hadith al-Sahihah. But if you don't find the answer there, then they said, we look at the amal of Ahlul Medina. That this is the tiebreaker or this is the deciding factor. What do the people of Medina do? Because this is the last people to see the Prophet ﷺ. If there was something early in Islam and it was abrogated, nasikh and mansukh, then the people of Medina would be practicing upon the last of it Because this is where the greatest number of Sahaba, and this was where the last Sahaba saw the Prophet ﷺ. That's where he's buried. Good approach. But other A'imma and Ulama, for example, Ibrahim al-Nakhai and Imam Abu Hanifa, those that were, for example, in Kufa, and others in Basra and Sham and other places, they did not follow the same approach because they are now in Kufa. For example, every time they have a question, they're not going to go and travel to Medina and ask a question. So they said, what we can do is to have ashab, yani a companionship of scholars, and come up with theoretic situations, and try to come up with an answer, ashab al-rai. So it became the Kufan school, as they call it, where they would come up with opinions based on a scholarly deduction. Okay? And they came up with their own usul. Also, good approach. Okay? Now, the two Imams that came out here, one, Imam Malik, the head of Ahlul Hadith, Ashab al-Hadith, the people of Medina. And Imam Abu Hanifa, the head of Ashab al-Rai, and the people of Kufa. And they both had a great love and respect for each other. It's not competing here. They would pray behind. When Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi came to Medina, he prayed behind Imam Malik. Imam Malik showed great respect to Abu Hanifa. None of this, my madhab and your madhab, none of this happened. A great love and respect with each other. They discussed fiqh with each other. They sat down. They changed each other's minds with proofs. This is the great history of Islamic scholarship, unlike the partisanship that we see today. Tayyib. Now came a scholar by the name of Muhammad Idris al-Shafi'i, who took ilm from Imam Malik directly. And he took ilm from the students of Abu Hanifa and from the fiqh of the people of Kufa. And having taken both of these bowls of knowledge and what was contained in these containers of knowledge, he saw to develop what was needed called usul al-fiqh. And the first complete work in usul al-fiqh called al-Risala by Imam al-Shafi'i was developed. And he developed, based on these good ideas, a better, more advanced approach to combine between them and develop a method of deriving fiqh going forward. Again, very simplified explanation. Great. And from him came what is today called the Shafi'i madhab. He had a student, his own student, whose name was Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Imam Ahmad, Abu Abdullah, was a scholar of hadith, a scholar of aqidah, the one who stood up against the Mu'tazila, against the fitna of khalaq al-Quran, the one who was imprisoned and beaten, but he stayed firm on the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hence called Imam Ahl Sunnah. And he was the most knowledgeable in hadith of them. He memorized more hadith than any scholar in the history of Islam. 1 million. They didn't even have a word for million. They said alf, thousand. Very strong in hadith. He took this fiqh from some of the ulama of Kufa. And he took fiqh from some of the people of Medina. And he was a direct student of a Shafi'i, and he developed from his usul, but focusing more towards the proofs that he knew from his works in hadith and the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, one of the largest of original books of hadith. Around 40,000 unique ahadith, 30 to 40, 70 if you put repetition in the different abwab, books of ahadith, the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. And he developed further a madhab focused towards the dalail. And that's why Imam Albani rahmatullah alayh, if you get Irwa al-Ghalil, in the Muqaddamah he said, the closest of the madhab to the Sunnah, aqrabahum al-Hanabila. So this is the development of the madhab. Tayyib. Now we get into a practical implementation issue. How do we in the West implement this? One method is that you say that you are from this country and that country is a particular madhab, so you have to ride or die on that madhab. Right? As if it's a part of your DNA. If you're Somali, you're Shafi'i, no matter what, whether it's right or wrong or this or that or wherever, I'm Shafi'i, I'm going to bang it, I'm going to throw it up, I'm getting my bandana, and that's it. I'm exaggerating a little bit. Right? If I'm from Pakistan or India or Afghanistan, I'm Hanafi till I die. That's it. I don't care about anything else. We're Ahnaf, and every masjid I'm going to go is a Mullah Hanafi. No, I'm not praying here. This is a real approach. You guys think it's funny, but it really happens. I had people come here one day. What madhab is this masjid? And we have people of all madhab here. No, the imam, is he Hanafi? No, I can't make salah here. Where's another masjid? All right, go down the street, I guess. So, this is one approach and it's wrong. And it's clearly wrong. Madhab is not something that has to do with your DNA. Right? For example, Misr used to be at a time all Malikis. Then a time came, they were Fatimids, they were Shia. Then a time came where the Shawafi, they were Hanabila, and things went Ahnaf. Sham, they had Ahnaf and Shawafi and Hanabila and this and that. Even we think of Afghanistan as hardcore, die-hard Hanafis, but Afghanistan didn't always, and if you look at Balkh in Afghanistan in history, they used to be the stronghold of the Hanabila at a time. Many Shawafi and things came. So madhabs don't have to do with your country or DNA. Okay? So this approach is wrong. The other approach, the DIY, do it yourself, yeah. DIY approach. What's the DIY approach? Huh? Brothers in the back, you're awake. What's the DIY? What does DIY stand for? Do it yourself. What does that mean? In this approach, you don't worry about madhahib or ulama or books. You maybe buy Sahih al-Bukhari from the store, mukhtasar, the summarized, and you're a mufti now. MashaAllah, you will make your own fiqh. You will say, Shafi'i have this opinion, I like it. Let's take it. Another issue, Malikiya have this, it's easy, I'll take it. The religion is not a jigsaw puzzle for you to be playing with. Right? It's not Legos, you can't just build wherever you want. Right? The religion is not a game. It's not yours, first off. It's the religion of Allah, not yours. Right? And if you don't know usul and you don't know takhrij and you don't know about ahadith and you don't know about rajih and marju and qiyas and what it entails and you don't know what's nasikh and mansukh and you don't know what is makan and zaman having to do with fiqh and any of that, and you're making ijtihad, you're a sinner. You're sinning just by making ijtihad there. Because you're not qualified to make ijtihad. And this is a big problem in our time. Everybody thinks they're muftis. One brother came here one day to me and he told me, Akhi, in my opinion, this is the strongest opinion amongst ulama. What do you think? But so if you've already made a decision, why are you asking me? Right? But just to understand, why is it the strongest opinion? Because I like it. I didn't know there was usul in fiqh saying that if you like it, that becomes the strongest opinion. Right? So this is what a lot of our youth and a lot of our more liberal brothers are going towards, which is just do whatever you want. This is wrong as well. Tayyib. So what is the balanced approach? The balanced approach is that we need to follow the religion in the light of the Quran wa Sunnah, but as understood by the ulama of this ummah. Tayyib? Meaning that if you take an ayah of Quran, aqimus salah, you cannot just say that to me this means just to pray Fajr. That's all really matters, Fajr. Who cares what it means to you? You have to go in the light of the Sahih Ahadith, and you have to go to the ulama of this ummah and see how they understood the ayah of Quran and the authentic Ahadith and how they used the usul in fiqh to implement it. You don't have to know all that, but you have to go to that type of an alim. And that's why it's very important to find an alim who is well versed and sticks to the kitab and sunnah, but has a methodology to be able to teach you. From the earliest time of this ummah, from the time of the salaf, the actual salaf, not just somebody who gets the banner, but the actual salaf of this ummah, meaning those ai-imma that we mentioned earlier were from the salaf of this ummah. From their time till our time, we've had a method of learning. No, it doesn't mean you go get a bachelor's or master's in Yale, PhD, right? That's not it. No, it doesn't mean you have to go to a Dars-e-Nizami madrasa and spend 7 or 9 or whatever years. No. Dars-e-Nizami, this developed during the Mughal time. Before that, there was no such thing. What was the method from that earliest time is you find a good sheikh and you study at the feet with respect and adab, but with the balance of always weighing everything with proof. When that sheikh gives you the rulings, from the Quran and Sahih Ahadith, you learn from that Shaykh and you develop with them in that methodology. That has been the way from the Salaf till our time. And this is the way for us. But today it might be difficult because in many cities, in America, in the West, in England, in Canada, whatever, we may not have a Shaykh in the whole city or the whole state. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it easy for this ummah that He's given us the internet. The internet is not just for you to watch funny YouTube videos, or to post your dinner on Facebook. Nobody cares what you had for dinner. The internet can be used for good. If you have a Shaykh in your city, go to that Shaykh, learn from them. That Shaykh is more important for you than water to drink. Water, if you drink a couple of cups in the day, you're done. But ilm, you need 24 hours a day. You may not realize this, but this is the reality. If you don't, then find somebody, maybe in another country, maybe another state, but that you can study with, even if it is through studying through Skype or WhatsApp or YouTube or Facebook or whatever. Use those things to connect with the ulama of this ummah and to learn from them. Tayyib. Now, as far as books go, every talib ilm should love books, should love ulama, should love the scholars of this ummah. Everybody should begin with a book of adab, of the etiquettes of talib ilm. It's not just about, I studied Bukhari, I studied this, I studied that. No, do you know how to study? And that's why in this masjid here, alhamdulillah, a book we have taught a few times already is Hilya Talib Ilm of Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd. I think it's a wonderful intro book in a very practical way. It's called The Etiquettes of Seeking Knowledge by Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd. You can Google it, there's PDFs free online. You can get it in Arabic or in English. And there is a sharh of it. There are better books from other ulama in the past regarding studying knowledge, but those are difficult. You'll need a teacher, you'll need also Arabic, and the depth of Arabic you may not have, but this book is very easy. Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, Muhammad Salih ibn Uthaymeen, a Sheikh, one of the great scholar, the faqih of this time, he also wrote a sharh of it. This, what I have, is an explanation that Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen explained the work of Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd. So Hilya Talib Ilm is the, Hilya means jewelry, but it means the beautification or the etiquettes of the Talib Ilm. And Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen wrote an explanation of it. So if you can get a local scholar or a local student of knowledge or a person of knowledge to sit with you and go over it with you, if not, at least read it yourself and ask questions about it from the ulama to understand how to study. And in it, the shuyukh give certain books to study. And I will give some basic nasiha about those. For example, in fiqh, and because we're talking about fiqh here, from a practical perspective, you need to take a matan, a small text, and try to at least study the abwab of ibadat, those chapters that have to do with your daily worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fasting and prayer and tahara and hajj and zakat and these, and study those. Don't try to think you can go get some big book of hadith like Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba and you're going to now study it in your first sitting. No, you're not ready for that. Get a small book. For example, Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat. This is one of the books that has been recommended by the ulama of Islam for many generations, and this is by Ibn Balban. And this is a book we taught here in the masjid. We finished, alhamdulillah, the abwab of ibadat. The videos are on our YouTube channel. If somebody wants to watch, they can watch those. This is on the beginning book of fiqh. Tayyib? Or there is Dalil al-Talib. Dalil al-Talib is written by Mar'i ibn Yusuf al-Hanbali, the famous scholar. Very beautiful matan, very easy to teach and understand. And there is the benefit that there is a very beautiful sharh by Ibrahim al-Shaykh al-Ibrahim al-Duyan, which is called Manar al-Sabil. Manar al-Sabil, the sharh of Dalil al-Talib. Manar al-Sabil fi sharh al-Dalil. And this, what it does, is this Shaykh, what he did every mas'ala, he brought a dalil. It's a very beautiful way. The issue and its proof. Tayyib? And if you want to advance in that, There'll be a test at the end of the dars on this, right? There is the takhrij of it by Sheikh Albani called Irwa al-Ghalil with takhrij ahadith Manar al-Sabil. So the matan, Manar al-Sabil, Dalil al-Talib, Mar' ibn Yusuf. The explanation that brings proofs, Manar al-Sabil. The checking and grading of all of the ahadith and proof, Irwa al-Ghalil. Beautiful method to study. طيب? Or there is Umdatul Fiqh of Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi. We taught this book a few times, alhamdulillah. Umda is an excellent book. You can study it with Udda, which is the Sharh of Bahauddin al-Maqdisi, where it explains many of the proofs and dalail. A very easy and beneficial way to study Umda. طيب? Or you have, if you're more advanced, Al-Muqni'. Al-Muqni' of Ibn Qudama is an excellent book. It's taught many a times in the Khalij and also in the Jazira al-Arab, in Saudi and other countries. Also in some of the madaris now in Pakistan and stuff, it's also being taught. Al-Muqni' of Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi. With it, you can study Sharh al-Kabir, which is a very in-depth sharh, which was a rearrangement of al-Mughni with proofs till the cows come home. Huge, amazing, right? Maybe a little difficult, but this is if you're more advanced. If not, one of the best ways is a book called Zadul Mustaqni'. By who? All those hardcore students here. Zadul Mustaqni' of al-Hajjawi. Al-Hajjawi, amazing book, recommended by Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen and Sheikh Ibn Baz and Sheikh Abdullah ibn Aqil and Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan, others and others. Zadul Mustaqni' has a very classic sharh by Mansur al-Buhyuti called Rawdatul Murbi'. So you can study it with this book called Rawdatul Murbi', or you can also bring in, as my Sheikh did, benefits from the book Sharh al-Mumti' ala Zad al-Mustaqni', 15-volume sharh of Zad al-Mustaqni' by Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen. Sharh al-Mumti', one of the greatest books of fiqh written in our generation by Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen. So these are some practical methodologies in study. Inshallah, I will stop here and open up for questions and answers, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. Faddalu. Any questions? Anything online? Tayyib, online question. What is the ruling on having your head covered during salah? Give ruling for both men and women. And the person who asked is not clear on that one. Tayyib. Regarding covering the head in salah. For a woman, it's fard. Right? A woman, even if she makes salah by herself in the darkness of a corner of her house and there is nobody in that house but her, she still has to make salah with her whole body covered, including her head, including her neck, including her body, including her arms, including her feet. The tops of the hands and the tops of the feet. If the bottom of the feet are not covered, that's fine, but the top of the feet have to be covered. I know there's khilaf, but I'm giving you what is rajih. Tayyib? And there is many dalail for this, very clear, right? So, her face and her hands can be uncovered, but the rest of her body has to be covered. Whether she's making salah in the masjid or at home, or whether she's in public or private, if there are non-mahram that are going to be looking at her, then there may, due to other hijab, then she should also cover her face. But that has nothing to do with salah, that has to do with just her awrah. Tayyib? But even if she's making salah by herself and there is no non-mahram or no person inside, out of the awrah of the woman in salah, all of that has to be covered, including the feet. Tayyib? Tops of the feet. Regarding men, there is khilaf of ulama, there is no sarih dalil for the men having to cover their head in salah. But as Shaykh al-Albani and other a'imma and ulama before him have pointed out, that this ummah used to continue to cover the head, especially when they were in salah and things, from the time of the Prophet ﷺ. There is no sahih, sarih hadith other than in ihram. And ihram is different, for men we're talking about. Woman even in ihram has to cover her head in salah. But for men, other than ihram, that Rasulullah ﷺ prayed with his head uncovered. There is a hadith where he took it off for sutra, but there is weakness in it, as Shaykh Albani has pointed out. Okay? Even though it's in fiqh sunnah, but it's weak. So The regular way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba radhiyallahu is to cover their heads in salah. So Shaykh al-Albani, he said this is mustahab. And if you look at the Ahnaf and the Shawafi and Maliki and Hanabila in the earlier books, all of them mention is mustahab. It is preferred for the man to cover the head in salah, but it is not wajib. It is not obligatory. It's not a part of the awrah. If you make salah as a man with your head uncovered, your salah is fine. But it is better. It is mustahab. It is preferable to cover the head for men in salah as well. Tayyib. Next. Any other questions here? Shaykhuna.
You know, I see a lot of people when they wear the kufis, a lot of them, they have like their forehead covered all the time, their forehead, when you're praying.
Tayyib. The top of your forehead here and your nose should touch the ground. If the kufi or the what's called qulanswa in Fusha, up top covers a part of your forehead, that's fine. But this part and the top of the nose that has to touch in salah. If there is a reason, like for example the ground is very hot and you take your imama, as I wrote a book on the imama, you can check the section about some of the Sahaba, they would take the side of the imama and put it down between them and the ground due to the heat, your salah is still fine. Okay? But regularly, you want your forehead and nose to touch the ground without a barrier, inshallah.
How about praying with beanie?
Praying with
Praying with
a beanie? That's fine, as long as you can still have your beanie, you can put it up. Beanies aren't always, you're not trying to rob somebody all the time, right? So if a beanie is up and the top of your forehead and your nose is touching the ground, that's fine. If you're wearing a ski mask, then you may want to pull that up during salah. And I'd be kind of worried why you're wearing a ski mask in San Diego. Tafadali, Doctor.
Yeah, you mentioned, you say that you have to go to a scholar and ask a scholar about certain
Yes.
things. So, for example, you go to a scholar and you tell him, I had wudu and I touched the lady's hand. Does this break my wudu? One scholar tells you,
Yes.
yes, it does. Another scholar is also a scholar.
Yes.
He tells you no.
Tayyib.
So how do you decide?
Excellent. Very good question. Let me repeat the question for the benefit of those online. And it's a very important question. It says, for example, you go to one scholar and you ask him a question regarding, as an example, that if you touch a woman's hand, does it break your wudu or not? And one scholar says yes, and one scholar says no, and they're both ulama. First, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jalani, rahmatullah alayh, one of the earlier ulama of his ummah, he gave very good nasiha in a book called Ghuniyat al-Talibin. He said, Zin bil kitab wa sunnah. Weigh wazanuk. Everything, the kitab, the Allah kitab, or the sunnah. Everything you should weigh it with the Quran and sunnah. So if one alim tells you it does, you can respectfully ask that alim, what is the dalil for this? With respect, not disrespectfully, but nicely. And if one alim tells you it doesn't, you can ask them, what is the dalil for it? And the alim who gives you proofs, who sticks to the dalil, then you should focus on that alim. And after, when you find an alim like this, don't ask another. No fatwa shopping here. Okay? It's not Amazon and eBay. Tayyib? I'm not saying that you just take an alim out of nowhere and you make him your only source. No. But you should ask ulama and ask for the proof. And when you see an alim who has dalil, who sticks to the Quran and Sahih Ahadith, then don't ask other ulama after that. Tayyib? If two aqwal come, ask for the proof. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this religion clear. Okay? Everybody likes to hide behind the smoke of khilaf. Right? But really, if you spend enough time, you will find the clear opinions in this religion. Because the dalil is there. The Prophet ﷺ said, I left this ummah on a clear path. The night is like the day. I'm summarizing the hadith, but meaning that everything has been clarified. Today, one alim will tell you, no, it's like this. One will tell you, no, it's like that. But if somebody really cares and spends the time to look at the proofs and the khilaf and the different books, the good alim will find the truth and he can explain it with the proof. Okay? So, everything, make it weighed against the Quran and Sunnah. If the one alim has clear hadith and the other doesn't. For example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was making salah, hadith sahih, and he touched the feet of Aisha radiyallahu anha. Okay? Just for this example. Okay? Here he touched her feet, he moved them, he continued his salah. She said, I felt his touch on my foot. It's not like, it was rubbed on the cloth. No, she felt it. If just touching a woman would break your wudu, then when Rasulullah touched Aisha radiyallahu anha, wouldn't his wudu break? Another hadith. Aisha radiyallahu anha says, at night, I didn't know where Rasulullah was. It was dark. I started to move. My hand touched his feet. He was making salah. Okay? Now again, if just the touch broke the wudu, then when she touched him, his wudu breaks. He should have broken salah. Like if you pass gas or something like this, you have to break salah. You can't continue salah. Other ahadith, these are clear sahih ahadith. Other ahadith, even Rasulullah kissed one of his wives, he went to go make salah. But there is kalam on the sanad there, but these are sahih, clear, right? So this means just a touch does not break your wudu. Okay? Lamasa in the Quran, there is tashrih of it and things like this. So this means that the alim that tells you that just a touch, even though this is an opinion in the Shafi'i madhab, and we respect the opinion, but the dalil doesn't support it. Okay? So inshallah we follow the dalil, and you follow the alim that has the dalil, and when you find a good alim, then just ask that alim. Ask him with dalil and just stick to that then, inshallah. Okay, any other questions? Faddal Mukarram.
Some people they say that we should have a different fiqh because we're living in America.
Say a very good question. Should we have a new fiqh because we're living in America? American fiqh for an American Islam. Right? My question for that, and it's rude to answer a question with a question, but I will have to, is do they think it was not in the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Muslims will live in America? Of course in the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this religion is applicable for all times and all places. So it doesn't matter if you're living in China, in Europe, in America, in South America, Antarctica, Australia. This religion of the Quran and ahadith and the usul that are developed in that have to be able to be practiced anywhere. Okay? I don't mean that you have to follow Quduri or Dalil al-Talib or this or that everywhere in every hukum as it is. No. But based on the Quran and Sahih Ahadith and the usul of fiqh that were developed on that by the A'imma and Ulama, they give you the leeway to understand zaman and makan, the time and place for implementation. So you don't need to develop a new fiqh for every country. You don't need to develop a new fiqh for every time. You don't need to develop a new madhab for every geographical location. The usul that are already developed, the Quran and Sunnah have enough flexibility in them that you can use them. So we don't need an Islam or a madhab or a new usul for America. Just use the usul correctly and we'll be fine, inshallah. Unless we're going to have a Japanese Islam and a Korean Islam and I want to get the Fijian Islam, and it's a joke. There's only one Islam, alhamdulillah. So, any other questions? No Hawaiian Islam? No. طيب إن شاء الله جزاكم الله خيرا سبحان الله بحمده سبحان الله